Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Know Your Worth. This week I have Latoya Sutton, CEO of Global Placement Services. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we pretty much do is partner with organizations to help them with their staffing needs or their staffing demands. We also do some coaching, some recruiting coaching, and we also do individual career counseling as well.
So, this topic this week is a good one because we get this a lot. So, when it comes to women, I guess, because I'm reading this off, and thanks so much for your questions, by the way, that people are sending in. I really appreciate it. And my first question is, when should you ask for the raise and when should you ask for a promotion?
I would say you should ask for a raise every year, definitely, and I think you should ask for a promotion once you feel that you have mastered your title, your position. That's when I think you should ask for a raise or when you should ask for a promotion.
Now, let me ask you a question for people who are going to say, how do I know that? There's a lot of
Okay.
people who think they have that have it, and vice versa. There are people who are doing really well in their positions, but they're like, I'm not sure if I'm ready. So, how do you know if you've mastered your position?
When you can do it in your sleep. I always say that when you can do it in your sleep. You guys know that I travel a lot. So I get a ton and ton of phone calls. So when someone just can call me out of the blue and say, hey, I'm applying for this position, these are one of the questions that they're asking me. And I can just tell you how to answer that question or how to respond or where to research to answer those questions that an employer may be asking you or how you can sell yourself to that employer. So when you can do it in your sleep and it comes naturally to you and you know you're good at it and you believe in yourself that you're good at it, this is when you know it's time for you to advance.
Okay.
Another thing to go back to well as well is that if you increase your education, so if you have a bachelor's and now you have a master's, it's time for you to go ahead and ask for that raise. Um, if you obtain these certifications that is required for another role that you may be interested in, it is time for you to ask for that promotion. So it's a lot that can be done where you can ask for that raise or that promotion with your employer.
You piggyback on what you said really quick.
Okay.
Let somebody know that you've gotten the bachelor's, you've gotten the master's, you've gotten the certification. You
Yes.
guys will not believe how many times people don't say anything. They
Yeah.
don't put it on LinkedIn. They don't put it on their resume. They don't show, like, hey, I've increased what I'm doing. They don't. So
Mhm.
that's something you guys really need to do more often. Let people know, like, hey, I've done this.
Yeah.
Another thing I would say is look at the job description of the job that you applied for.
Mhm.
Look at those lists. Something says basic qualifications and preferred
Yeah.
qualifications. When you can do all of them, like for instance, if I go to Latoya and I'm working for Latoya and I say I think I deserve, and I would literally bring that job description in and say I've done this, and then what? Like now you can't argue if you've actually done it, because there are times where unfortunately you might have to. I don't know if fight is the right word, but that's the word that's coming to my mind right now. Part of being assertive, but you have to say no. I deserve this.
You
I
can, and that comes in being assertive when you can come in, but the position also has to be open, right? So it goes back to you seeing this position open. You have all the basic requirements, and you meet some of the preferred. You can still go and ask for that promotion because you meet all of those qualifications plus some. Now, to go back to what you were just sharing, if you meet all the basic requirements and you meet all the preferred requirements, it is time for you to elevate into another role. You do not have to stay in the same position for 5 to 10 years to say that I've now mastered this role. You can master that role within 2 years, 3 years, maybe less, depending on the individual, and you can continue to advance. A lot of people like to stay with companies too because they want to show loyalty to the brand, right? Or loyalty to the company. And if the company values you as a employee, they will make that growth happen for you so that you don't have to look anywhere else. Because that happens a lot. They lose their top performers to other organizations who's going to show value to them. So that's just the answer to some of your questions there. I kind of went off topic, but it's
Oh,
okay.
no problem, no problem. So my next question is, What steps should you take? Number one, to ask for the promotion, and then number two, to ask for the raise.
Advance yourself. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to take those steps to advance yourself. Now, let's say you schedule this meeting with your manager or supervisor. You want to make sure that you bring that data to that meeting to share why you deserve that promotion and why you deserve that raise. Okay. So if you have your yearly performance review, right, with your manager, you sit down one on one, what went well, what you can improve on. If you are in there with your manager and they're telling you this is everything that has went well, this is what you might not have anything to really improve on because everything is going well. Perfect time to ask your manager for a raise. um, just make sure you have your numbers. Make sure you're building strong relationships within the department and company, because if they want to do internal references on this employee and how you're getting along with other managers, directors, colleagues, because there is a such thing as internal references. A lot of people think that references is just when they call an old employer or someone to do like a character reference on you. No, when they're ready to promote someone, especially into leadership, we are going to do an internal reference. So I would say just bring your numbers, bring your data, make sure that you're building positive relationships, and make sure that you're also advancing yourself. That way you can bring that to your leader on why you want a promotion and an advancement. And one last thing, save those emails. Save those awarding emails that you're receiving from your leader, your CEO, or colleagues. Save those emails so you can show that as well as more data into why you should be promoted or why you should have that raise.
Definitely, definitely agree. I like having all the stuff that you need to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else I'm going to say, and it's going to sound like it's off topic, but it's not.
Okay.
Sometimes promotion is moving to another company. Like there is something of being loyal to a company, but there's also something of being loyal to yourself.
Yeah.
And you can still bring those projects, those things, the things that you've done, and you can show this is what, and that's how sometimes you get your raise. And this is weird, but unfortunately, when you're within a company, you will not your promotion or your raise. Somebody in another company is willing to pay you more most of the time. I don't know why that is. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that some companies have other vendors who sponsor them, so their budget is a lot wider. And so they have the money to spend, and they may have to spend a certain amount of money to keep, that sponsorship or that vendor, depending on that agreement that the company has. So some companies do and will pay more, but then it also goes to the state and area someone lives in too, because someone can live in North Carolina, be working in California and getting California rates. So I just wanted to feedback on that, like why some companies pay a little bit more than the other. I think it depends on the state. It depends on the funding the organization have, especially if you have like an independent company, startup companies, Fortune 500 companies. It just all depends.
Also, I want to go a little bit back before, like, what steps you should take. Another step you should take is know your finances. So don't go in there with an arbitrary number. You know how much mortgage or rent is, car payment, if you have one, insurance, cable, childcare, everything. You know what it is. And you go in there with an arbitrary number that, like, just know I want to make this much more a year. Because unfortunately, sometimes 2%, 3% raises, you really don't feel them in your check.
You do
So
not.
you really need to go in there with the game plan and know why you need it. Writing things down does help. Like, these are all of my bills. This is what I want to travel more this year or within the next 2 years. So this is how much more I need if I want to take 1, 2 trips a year, solo, significant other, or children. You need to know what you're asking for and why. And that sometimes will help you for that raise or that promotion a little bit more. You know what you're at, you know what you want to make. So know your numbers before you go in there.
And be realistic with your numbers. Okay? Like if you see a job posted on Indeed, LinkedIn, Career Builders, wherever you go to apply for jobs, and they have a budget up there. Let's say it was between 30 to 50,000. Okay, I know that's on the low end, but let's say 30,000 and 50,000. Don't expect to come in saying, well, I want 65, 70, 75,000 for this job, because they're not budgeted for it.
Oh,
So make sure you're being realistic, one, with your numbers, and also know what type of jobs to apply to. So apply to those jobs that is within that range, but also make sure that you have the skill sets to contribute to that organization or department. Just because you know that I have to make a minimum of $70,000 or $75,000 a year to feel comfortable, but you're not taking those appropriate steps to increase your own skill set so that you can apply for that job. Because if they're looking for someone with 10 plus years of experience and you only have 2 years of experience, don't apply for that job, because then you don't meet the minimum qualifications. So just be realistic with your numbers and be realistic with what you bring to the table.
oh no, definitely. I definitely agree with that because we will weed you out immediately.
Yes.
We look for if it needs a certain amount of education, we look for that immediately. If
Yes.
it needs a certain amount of years, oh, they don't have it. Like we're taking them out like immediately. So just know what you just said is definitely good.